Manchester City stutter in Paris. Manchester City lose against Paris Saint-Germain, throwing a 2-0 lead away to lose 4-2 in probably one of the most important games of this Champions League phase so far. As ever, guys, if you're new to the channel, welcome, and make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and turn on the bell notification so you never miss another one of my videos. But guys, Manchester City throw away a 2-0 lead against Paris Saint-Germain and lose 4-2 at the Parc des Princes. It's unbelievable. And this is why I love the Champions League, because some of the most unexpected things happen. Normally we associate going 2-0 up and winning with Manchester City. But it's happened to them a few times as well. Remember that Real Madrid game? But they've also done it in the league against Aston Villa, and they go behind and they always find a way. But this time they got a taste of their own medicine. The first half was, not great, no goals, and then we got 4 goals in the second half in a space of about 10 minutes. City went 2-0 up, Jack Grealish scoring a goal, then Haaland, and then Paris Saint-Germain get their goals through Dembele and Bradley Barcola. And it just shows how brilliant this Champions League campaign is, and it's unbelievable because it's a game where you think Manchester City are in good form. Paris Saint-Germain have been really, really good in their league, but you look at the form Manchester City have been in 2025. They've kind of put those problems behind them. They're starting to showcase their ability on a more frequent basis, and you think Manchester City on the ascendancy, especially when you go 2-0 up, and you could hear how flat the stadium was. You could hear how the crowd were just silent because Manchester City look utterly in control at 2-0. And we come on and speak about teams all the time that throw away 2-0 leads. Arsenal did something in the league against Villa on the weekend, and Manchester City have done it today. And this just showcases the vulnerabilities of both Arsenal and City. Arsenal obviously winning 3-0 against Dinamo Zagreb. I was not watching that game, but a great result for them. But let's stick to Manchester City, and they are 25th in the Champions League phase. They are in a relegation zone of the Champions League, if you want to call it. If it stays like this, they will be out of the Champions League. Arguably, the bookies' favourites to win the competition are going to be knocked out of the Champions League phase in its early stages. Manchester City, one of the Champions League favourites, if not the favourite coming into this season, are going to be knocked out the Champions League if they don't beat Club Brugge on the final day. They have to take the game to the final day of the Champions League format to stay in the competition and qualify for the playoffs. Not just automatic, the playoffs. We're talking about Manchester City here. Paris Saint-Germain were in a very, very similar situation. And this is why this is such an important win, because it flips the script completely. Manchester City needed this win, but so did PSG. But who wanted it more? Paris Saint-Germain. And they showed fight, they showed resilience, and they showed immense character in front of their home supporters, being 2-0 down to come back and win 4-2 in the manner that they did, running riot against Rico Lewis and Gvardiol, Barcola and Dembele. Dembele was marvellous in the game. Barcola was marvellous. João Neves, marvellous, and topped it off with a goal. PSG wanted it more than Manchester City. And for Pep Guardiola, this is a crisis, you could say, for City. Is it a crisis? I thought, and a lot of people thought, they put all their problems behind them. But you can see the frailties they still have when they play half-decent opponents. And that's not a disrespect to the teams they've beaten in the last couple of weeks. But they have struggled against the top sides in the league this season. Villa have beaten them. Newcastle got a result against them. Liverpool beat them. They drew with Arsenal. Even when Rodri was available. They beat Chelsea on the opening day, but that's when they were, you could say, when they had Rodri and all their squad available. And that might be an excuse as to why they've stuttered so massively this season. But you have to call a spade for a spade. City are in a very, very difficult position now in the Champions League. And that was their saving grace for this season, because they're not going to win the title. They're not going to win the League Cup. They might win the FA Cup. And the only really big trophy, no disrespect, they had to play for was the Champions League. And they might not even make it through to the next stage of that. This is utterly unbelievable what is happening in football this season. It's unbelievable. Some of the teams that are above Manchester City, I'll read them out to you. Sporting Lisbon, Club Brugge, PSV Eindhoven, Celtic, Benfica, Brest, Lille, and I'm not disrespecting these teams, Monaco, Feyenoord. These are some of the teams that are above Manchester City in this league format. And I believe Manchester City have a stronger squad than most of these teams. So you then can't put the blame on them having injuries as to why they're stuttering so massively in this season's competition. They have just not been good enough. They have been on a decline. I could see they were on a decline. Maybe the results weren't showing it, but definitely some of the performances I saw, especially from the back end of the 22-23 season after they won the treble, they were on a decline. And someone will turn around and say to me, how can you say Manchester City won a decline when they went 1 year unbeaten at home? But the problems were evident even the first half of last season when they were losing to Villa, Liverpool were getting a draw against them, Arsenal beating City. These were becoming more and more evident that teams were getting chances against Manchester City. And this season, they've lost Rodri and they've capitulated. Such a big hole in that midfield. But I can't feel sorry for them, because you can't put blame on just one injury and you capitulate that massively in a season. And yeah, you bounced back in the last couple of weeks, City. But again, that performance today was utterly embarrassing from a team that's the Premier League champions. They only won the European Cup in 2023, in the summer of 2023. It's less than 2 years ago. They were champions of Europe. And now they're in a position where they might even qualify for the round of 16. It's unbelievable what is happening in football. And I give credit to Paris Saint-Germain, because not many people gave them an opportunity, especially when they went a goal and 2-0 down. And we know how poor Paris Saint-Germain have been in this competition. They've never won the competition. And it's something they've been trying to get towards and fight towards, of getting that final hurdle of winning the Champions League at last. Some of the teams and players they've had, Paris Saint-Germain, Ibrahimovic, Cavani, Messi, Neymar, Mbappe. These are the caliber of players that they had at one point, Paris Saint-Germain. And they weren't able to win it. But when they play like that, with that style, with the dynamism they have on the wings, the midfield excellence of João Neves, and now they've added Kvaratskhelia to this, we might be looking at one of the hottest teams in Europe, and some teams that won't be wanting to play Paris Saint-Germain because of their firepower and because of this result, because this has probably sent shockwaves down Europe. City capitulate. City are weak, exploited by the excellence of Paris Saint-Germain and Luis Enrique. Two former Barcelona managers going head-to-head. And Luis Enrique comes out on top. And it wasn't just, it's a smash and grab. It was a second half battering from PSG to Manchester City. Ederson was making save after save, who I thought was really, really poor in the game. His distribution was something I've never seen, because we associate Ederson with being so comfortable in the ball, but today he wasn't great. And obviously City getting the goals, we thought, they're going to win the game. But again, like I said, Barcola, Dembele, Gonzalo Ramos, when he came in, was causing a problem as well. This is what the top teams are capable of doing. I'm not saying Man City can't do it, but they're not doing it. And they're getting exploited for it most weeks when they play a half-decent opponent. Juventus beat them as well in the Champions League the last time that City were in this competition. They dropped a 3-0 lead to Feyenoord. These are not problems that have just been happening for the last 2 months. They've been happening for a lot longer than that. And it's just taken people to look at the results and identify that, okay, now it's going wrong. When I could see from their performances, even when they were winning matches, that something is wrong here. Now, even last season for me, the reason why they won the league is because of a capitulation from Arsenal and Liverpool. And that's not me discrediting Manchester City because they've won 4 of the last 5 leagues. So let's get that straight. But last season, it was a capitulation from Liverpool, who were top of the league, and then Arsenal lost to Villa, and that's why Manchester City won the title. So there are problems, and again today, not good enough. And maybe they need to go out of the Champions League to just maybe focus on it, have a reset, because they are bringing players in. Kusanov wasn't involved today. Victor Reis wasn't involved today. Omar Mamouche wasn't involved today. But they're at least identifying where they're wrong, City. And I'm sure they'll return. But it's just crazy to see that in a year, losing one player, how massive the drop-off is for Manchester City. Because I don't think they were particularly great with Rodri in there in terms of their performances, but they were getting results because they have resilience. They have somebody that can anchor the midfield. Now you can see they don't have that. They look so open. Teams can get at City. See, teams are having a go at City, which is why they've lost so many games this season. They need to find a solution in Manchester City, because maybe being knocked out of the Champions League will be good for them. They have less games to play, less things to worry about. But it's Manchester City, one of the biggest clubs in the world now. They make the most revenue of some of the best players in the world. They should not be 25th in the Champions League behind some of the teams I've mentioned before and taking it to the final day to get through. But credit to Paris Saint-Germain, because they wanted it more and they got it. Some of the other results: Arsenal winning 3-0 against Zagreb. It's typical. You can't put it past Arsenal. They needed the result and they got it. Feyenoord beating Bayern Munich 3-0. That was one of the shock results of this Champions League. And Celtic, they look like they might go through to the playoffs of the Champions League. But ultimately for Manchester City now, they just need to have a reset and a rethink, because this is becoming too normal and it's happening too often for a team of that size and the quality they have. But credit when credit's due. It was brilliant from Paris Saint-Germain. Manchester City stutter again in the Champions League. Again, not only the Champions League, the Premier League as well. They've been stuttering all season. Can they put it right on match day 8? Let's see what they can do. But guys, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.